Welcome, everyone. Great seeing you. And for the old timers, as Lily was saying, this is our 10th year. So we have been meeting now for 10 years for the people who are coming here for first time. We started with Lily meeting every month. It's always the same third Monday of the month consistently. And we always meet at the same time of the month, at the same day and hour, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we have in our website more than from all of these 10 years, more than 100 recordings of webinars. So for our new members and for the old timers too, you may want to go back and watch some of these amazing presenters that we have had over the years. And some of them are you here today. So thank you for all of your support over the years. And Sonia, I don't think this is your first time, isn't it? I think you have presented here a few times.
It's
I
before quite a while though. Yeah.
I want to share, I met Sunny 15 years ago. She was in my first class ever when I was training coaches at the Center for Nonprofit Management here in Los Angeles.
Mm.
And 15 years later, here we are. And before we start with Sunny, Lily, do we have any announcement, anything we want to share before we jump into talking about creativity?
Well, we have our conference coming up, as many of you know. It's going to be in Victoria, BC. Well, there'll be a one-day virtual on April 24th, and then there'll be a two-day in-person in Victoria, BC. You're all welcome to come. I will put up the information in the chat, and if you have any questions, let us know. It's still early bird right now. And then I have a note that in April, what are we doing in April? Oh, March, our March session, we'll have an open conversation on how do we stay fit for purpose in these crazy times that we're living in. So it's going to be an open forum. So you're welcome to come in March, third Monday of March, same room. Hope to see you there.
Yeah, what I want to say about the conference is our ninth conference. And for people who are available, meeting in person, it makes a difference when we can touch each other. So if you can make it or make it work, and if you need any support economically, we're providing some scholarships, so that doesn't prevent you from coming. So just to keep that in mind.
Well, we
Now,
don't want we don't want you to touch each other, but we want you to hug each other.
so Sunny, anything that you want people to know about you to introduce yourself?
I just want to welcome everyone and thank everyone for showing up and coming today. I have always been an artist in my heart, whether it's music or dance. And so I've grown up with an appreciation for art. So in coaching, I can see lots of parallels and lots of um, ways to actually use art. I mean, it's around us all day, every day. So I actually got a certification in an arts-based experiential learning program, which I'll tell you about as we go along. And that's also inspired me and motivated me to bring more art into my coaching practice. And I'm inviting all of you today to do that too. I didn't get a lot of preparation because we didn't know how many people would show up, etc. But if all of you can get out one sheet of paper and a pencil, well, two sheets of paper and a pencil. I didn't get a chance to prepare you, but if you don't have a pencil, use a writing instrument. I'm sure you have one of those, but a pencil is preferable with an eraser. And then also the two sheets of paper. What else did I want? Have I forgotten anything? That's really all you need is the writing instrument and two blank sheets of paper. You don't have that. You have a journal or something with open space on the page for you to be able to draw. And that's really all you need. I think that's it. I think we should get going because we're have a time stamp on this and hopefully we can get through everything. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. Think. Nope. That didn't work. What do you guys see now? Hello?
Just a black screen beside you.
What about now?
Oh, we can see it. And can you just move your camera a little bit? Because sometimes we only see half your face.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Maybe I should just move over a little bit. Is that better? Hello?
It's more that you need to be higher.
I need to be
Just
higher.
by
Maybe.
like 3 inches, because when you put your head down, we only see part of your face.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just let me see if I can raise my actual seat up higher. Is that better?
So much better. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. So as you can see from the slideshow, I may have to go out and come back in again because let me see, I'm looking for the side by side so I can see you guys. I don't know whether that's going to work though. I have it on side by side, but we'll go ahead and see what happens. Okay, I still can't see you. I'm looking to be able to see the audience if I can. Anyway, creativity in coaching and coaching supervision. Of course, I included coaching because some people, I think most of the people here are supervisors, so they understand what supervision is. And of course, you know what coaching, if you're someone who's not familiar with coaching, this can apply to your coaching practice also. I'd like to center us for a few seconds, and we can do a short just breathing exercise together. So I'd like you to do the 4-point breathing exercise, which involves inhaling through your nose. And when the top of the inhale, hold it for 2 seconds and then release by blowing the air out. Kind of purse your lips like you're blowing through a straw. So let's do that together 3 times. Inhale, hold it, and release. Hold that. And inhale one more time. Hold it and release. Inhale once more. Hold it and release. Okay. As I said, I welcome you and I invite you to just stay open as we move through this part of the morning as efficiently as we possibly can. I'd like to take an informal poll just to find out where people are. I want to ask a question. You can put your answer A, B, C, D in the chat. And if someone has some comments, you can let me know. Do you consider yourself a creative person? No, not really. Only when required, sometimes, or somewhat, or absolutely.
So Sunny, there is a window open that we can see in middle of your presentation on the side. Is that something that you can close so we don't get that one, whatever that is?
Is it gone now?
Now it's gone. And there are a couple of more. I don't know if you can turn them off also, like on the side, in the line in the top and in the middle.
I think, is it a black?
Yes.
That's, the share screen thing.
Okay, so it's okay. So no,
and then there's someone's trying to be admitted, and that's showing up for me too as a co-host. I'll take her out. Okay. I'll admit her. So
I did that.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay. So what have we got in terms of responses?
I've got mostly D's.
Okay, 5 absolutely. Good. My next question is, how often do you consciously use art in your coaching and coaching practice or coaching supervision? Often, daily, frequently, weekly, or at least monthly, rarely, or never? And what does the response look like? I do wish I could see you guys.
We got mostly B, a mix of B's and C's.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Well, let's see whether we can up your game a little bit today, just in terms of ideas and innovation and intuitiveness, I'll put it that way. Okay. I learned arts-based experiential learning, the ABLE-based program, and I've expanded that to ABLE with 2 L's because I've added leadership and actually really loved everything I did. The first time I took a course actually with Creating Futures at Work, we got a list of things that we had to bring to class, and not one of the things on the list were books. And I was so thrilled to take a training that I didn't have a formal book to actually read, but it was really interactive and I really loved it. So today we're going to go through hopefully 3 activities quickly, and then we're going to have a little bit of a debrief after each one, and then do a call to action at the very end. And I have provided a whole 2-page list of sources for you. You can email me and I will send you the list in a PDF form. First of all, art is a gateway to emotions. And I think for us as coaches and for other individuals who are facilitators or group facilitators, we know that every form of art is relevant, and that includes sculpture, music, silence, dance, movement. It even includes cooking, and especially science as an art form. We're often in the position of being what I would like to think of as gatekeepers, at least helping to guide the traffic of feelings and emotions that emerge or those that are submerged during our coaching conversations. This also includes the responsibility for ethically guiding the emergent flow of those feelings and emotions. This is going to be a co-creative and very involved experience. And we as coaches have to be mindful and aware, for instance, of some tolerance levels, reactions, those kinds of things, and know and be sensitive to the space that's being created that includes the art form also, and what that might be triggering for some clients. So the first activity we're going to do, I hope everyone has this piece of paper and a instrument. It's hopefully a pencil, a blank sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11 if you can. I'm going to show you an image, and I want you to draw that image exactly as you see it. This is not a test. It's not trying to measure your artistic ability. I'll give you about 3 minutes to reproduce that image that I showed to you, and then draw the image. That's the only other thing I can tell you, exactly as you see it. Some of you may have experienced this before. If you have, just sort of hold on to and remember your reactions at the end, and we'll discuss. Anybody comfortable enough to hold up your picture so everybody else can see? If you're not, it's okay. Come closer to your camera. A little back up a little bit. Very good. So how did that feel when you were starting to try to draw? Did you have confidence that you'd be able to do it? Was there anything that entered your mind and said, uh-oh, that thwarted that confidence?
It
I,
made me laugh a bit because I was never good at drawing, but last time I attended a conference, there was a lot of artwork and doing it. So I told myself, who cares? I'll do it anyway. So sometimes it was good, sometimes okay, but I enjoyed it, but was a bit okay. Let me not think about how good I am or not. Let me just do it.
Okay, thank you, Domenica. Yes. Anyone else?
I just drew the lines, not the horse.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the same. I was just concerned about like the proportions, if I was going to get the proportions correct. But I wasn't concerned about the fact that the horse was upside down because I was also just trying to follow the lines, but I knew that the proportion was probably going to be off.
Did that bother anyone that the horse was upside down?
It didn't bother me, but it took a second to my head to decide whether I was going to draw it like that or I should try to draw it like the upside and then turn it around so it was easier. I ended up drawing it upside down, but it took me a second to not be okay with it, but just like to get out of the surprise.
Sort of reorient your perspective or thinking.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And I think that's one of the things that I've done this exercise with individuals and large groups, even at a conference. And I was at one conference and someone raised their hand and said, you know what? I have to tell you, I cheated. I turned it right side up because we actually gave out the picture so people had it. And so he shared also that it really made him think, because he's often been said to have been a micromanager, and he didn't believe that, but he saw in himself, and this was a coach, that he had to have something the way he wanted it to be able to do it. So that's one of the self-discoveries. I mean, a lot of this art that you engage with clients in also is a learning opportunity for you as a coach. So think about how you approached it, whether you looked at the full picture or whether you went line by line. I think as Elaine talked about, it's how you approach something that you're not used to, that looks different, that seems different. We get some comments in the chat too. I noticed that I was wondering whether it was one of those trick pictures. Well, that tells you about yourself too. Do you assume always that there's something, hidden in this? Paul, I see you smiling. I saw you sort of chuckling before. Any comments? No? Okay. I wondered, you also wondered that for a moment too. Okay. Well, let this sort of percolate with you for a little bit. And we're going to go back to my PowerPoint. Let's see. Share here. If I can get it shared. Side by side. Here we go. Well, this is where we were. Let's go to slideshow. And move forward a little bit. I don't know why I'm not getting it back. Let's try it again. Stop share. One more time. Weird. This is where we were. Okay, we went through this little debrief. Now we're going to try a second activity. Again, this requires having a pencil and a blank sheet of paper. What I'd like you to do is take your pencil and put it dead center in the middle of the blank sheet, as if you were about to write something, not at the top, not at the bottom, but just right in the center. And then I want you to close your eyes if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, please focus on something in the room, something that you can continue to look at and not look down at what you're doing or what you're writing. You'll begin to hear music in a few minutes, and that will play for approximately 3 minutes. Whenever you feel inspired, begin to draw on the paper without looking, any way you like. And again, with your eyes closed, continue to draw in whatever way or direction you'd like to until you hear me say stop. And then I'll tell you to open your eyes, okay? All right. Here we go. I haven't started yet, but is everybody sort of set? Eyes closed or focused on something else in the room other than the paper and your pencil? Here we go. All right, stop, please. How was that for you? Any comments?
It was fun.
Fun, okay. Anyone comfortable holding up their sheet, their paper, and seeing what that looks like? Wow. Wow, that's wonderful. Look at this. Excellent. Tell me what you feel when you look at that sheet of paper after going through that little activity. What does it say? There have been lots of research even about doodling and how doodling is so much more revealing than actual drawing for people, that it really uncovers under the surface feelings and expressions. I actually was with a client the other day who was having trouble expressing themselves, and this is a one-on-one coaching session. She said, I just don't know how, I don't know how to explain this. And I said, get out a pencil and piece of paper. I said, draw it. And she began to just scribble and doodle and draw. I said, what does that say to you? And she started talking. Suddenly the words, I think, came for her. And it's really interesting to see people move into different places and different modes of expression. Any comments in the, we all as coaches also use a great deal of tools. We know, especially in supervision, you use metaphors. And on my list, I have Paul Sandbar's, his work that he's done with Legos. And of course, Lily's Magic Box is listed there also. And these are tools that coaches have developed and used all the time in terms of expression and creativity. You can do something that's very simple, and you don't have to be an artist necessarily to facilitate getting below that surface in terms of feelings and expressions. Anybody have anything to share about this particular exercise?
For me, it's about when we let go of any expectations, we can open the pipeline of creativity because we're not expecting something particularly.
Exactly. It's something new, and it's outside often of our comfort zone. And we know that that's where the growth actually happens too. We're able to even project and sometimes assign feelings to others, and all of that is revealing. We as coaches are there to observe, ask questions, to be curious, and it really instills that also in our clients and makes them more comfortable doing so. Any other comments? Am I missing some in the chat? There are several new ones. Yes? Lily and Damien, if you see something that you can help me with that I'm not able to catch up with in chat, let me know.
Sure. So Michelle says flow, energy boosting is Lisa. Lynn said fun. Lynn says, I love what I created. So I'm hoping to see it on your framed behind you next time, Lynn. And Domenico said, I want to be on the beach that I drew. And Lynn said, I enjoy just seeing what emerged.
Absolutely. It's amazing what comes forth and what comes through. I'm going to now go back to my slide, if I can share again, where we were. And we went through talking about this. But here, even a quote, there's recent studies in neuroscience and psychology have demonstrated that doodling, in fact, is productive. It can free up short and long-term memory and stimulate creativity and reduce stress. The other picture in the previous slide was of a doctor, and I provided an article about him, Dr. Lim, who's done a lot of research about music, and especially jazz and improvisation in terms of creativity, inspiration, and innovation. This is the cover of the artwork to that music. The artist, Jamie Putnam, that was her interpretation because the title of the song is Pieces of a Dream. Very interesting, yes? I'm going to now take you through very quickly a case study, and I want to share again that this is something I've done in different contexts in different times. One of the first, I'll tell you about that. I worked with a group of 911 operators on a team, and some of you may know that in most cities, 911 operators have two sides. There's a physician or medical side and a police side. Well, this particular group was about to merge, So there's a lot of resistance, a lot of conflict, because the police side of the 911 emergency operators had to learn all of the medical jargon as well as what they needed to do, and vice versa. And I was working with one side with just a lot of challenges as a team. But this one had to do with physicians at a hospital, fairly big hospital, but it was a group of surgeons who had been called together by the physician champion and to meet on a monthly basis about issues that affected the hospital and medical staff. So today's topic was medical malpractice, ways to prevent it. The physician champion agreed to have me and my co-facilitator show the following clip from a contemporary movie about a conversation between a doctor and a family member whose patient had died. So the film clip setup I'll give you is Dr. Paul Flanner was a well-respected surgeon, had a much more approach that was non-humanistic. He carried some guilt for passing up relationships in his life in favor of his career. One of his patients, Jill Torelson, passed away on the operating room table with an operation, was really very routine and cosmetic. He was a cosmetic surgeon. He never faced Jill's husband, Robert Torelson, directly about the matter. So Mr. Torelson wrote to him and asked to have a conversation, and is also filing a wrongful death suit against Dr. Flanner, despite the fact that the death, as far as they could tell, we hadn't been to court yet, had not been caused by anything that Dr. Flanner did. Robert Torelson, the husband, wrote Flanner asking to speak with him, as I said, and this clip is a representation of that conversation. In actuality, the clip that we showed was that one, and a little bit longer. And in the longer part of the clip, the other character that was on the stairs, the woman asks Dr. Flanner, after Torelson leaves, what he was afraid of. And that's where we ended the clip. So the physicians in the room, you could feel the discomfort, but one of them made a joke and said, well, doctors also, I don't know if you've worked with a lot of them, can be pretty sarcastic, but he said, well, he wasn't afraid of anything, but the hospital certainly was, of $1 million lawsuit. And some people chuckled, and the co-facilitator and I just looked around the room. We didn't say anything. And then we asked some of the physicians, why was that amusing? And we got into quite a discussion about humor covering up real feelings of hurt and pain and shame. And that really opened the door, I think, towards those physicians realizing, and some of them more than others, that they were unwilling to approach their real feelings, that were uncomfortable, not only with their patients, but with family members and people that they were close to. So what do you think? This is the kind of thing that I think you, from an ethical standpoint, have to be very careful with. And we did show the entire clip to the physician champion before he used it, not knowing exactly, but he felt that it was going to be purposeful and helpful. And it really was. I think that was one of the first times that those physicians in that room had really come to terms with the humanistic side of their business, their practice. They are required to do such intricate work. And I don't know if any of you've ever been in an operating room. It's almost like a concert. I mean, everybody is trained to do specific kinds of things precisely. And when something doesn't go right, it can affect everything else just as much as a physician and a drummer actually not being on a beat. I mean, it's all harmony and it's all precision and it's all listening. I watched a string quartet play together and it was amazing. They played the same piece over 3 different ways and how they listened to each other. Teams have to do this every day when they're performing too. And that's why using art, whether it's music or whether it is drawing or painting, can help people really get in touch with. There's also the connection somatically between the mind, your brain, the touch, the actual experience. And I'm sure both Paul and Lily can tell you about this, really make a difference. That's why I wanted you to draw without looking. And the connection between what you were hearing and listening to, what was going on neurologically for you, is almost like your pen or your pencil is a dance. As much as your body would move to the music, your hand is moving with the pencil on a piece of paper and drawing something. There's a definite connection there. And you can imagine then what kind of impact this can make on a client. Comments? Okay. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint and we're going to sort of wrap this up. I wanted to find out what you thought about the response and how this underlying emotional issue was being explored for both the husband and for Dr. Flanner, and then what the doctors in the group actually thought. So in wrapping this up, I'm going to ask you to increase the amount of creativity in your work on a daily basis for yourself and for your clients. I told you about or mentioned the 911 operators that I worked with. We had a meeting towards the end of our team coaching sessions, and I asked each one of them to find a song they could do on their, on their phones and bring it to that meeting and play it for us, a song that really represented the culture of their office and about this merger that was about to happen. And it was amazing what people came with. And it allowed them to bond together as well as to express their frustration, their frustrations and emotions that I don't think were coming out in all the work that we had been doing for the weeks I had been there. I want to ask you too, whether you can make or what it'll take to make a commitment to consciously integrate more, some of you are doing this already, more awareness of art in your professional practice. How can you also consider ethical issues that may arise during your work as gatekeepers and guides of emergent feelings? Any comments about these 3 questions?
So talking about music, when you shared before about creativity in group supervision, I make an experiment and I wrote a song and I shared that song and I asked them to think about a case that they're working on and see how that song related to them, to them. And it worked out really well. What I didn't tell them is that I asked ChatGPT to help me to identify the song that I chose. But it was The Sound of Silence.
Oh.
And it was a really interesting exercise. And I have never done that before in that way. So I think it's important for us to keep being creative and trying new things, even though it can be a little bit uncomfortable. It worked out really well.
Yes, I know you and Lily we use a lot of music in the introduction and exit of our work that we do, not so much during that period of time. On my list, I even give you an app where you can hum a song into the app and it will tell you what the song is. If you can't remember the name of the song or who sang it or where it came from, because of technology and AI, there are lots of different options for you to bring up clips, even from movies. You can't remember the exact scene, but it moved you and you think it would move someone else. And they have now apps that are just tremendously productive in terms of that. So you don't have to be the producer or the editor to necessarily or have the memory of something. You can actually produce what you'd like to produce a lot easier because of the technology. But thank you, Damien, for mentioning that. Anyone else?
Well, I think about ensuring that it's an invitation.
Yes.
And finding a way to be inclusive, because sometimes I find in groups there may be somebody that has a hearing impediment, or they're not comfortable sharing what they've put together, or I don't know, there's pieces that to think about ethically around how do we set this up in a way that is an invitation. Yeah, thank you, Sunny, because I did watch and notice how you said, if you're comfortable, close your eyes. So really, these kind of prompts are really important rather than it being a more direct approach. So thank you for that.
And I think also once you're into the experiential process, make sure you let your participant or participants know that if they become uncomfortable, they can ask for timeout or to stop. So they're not feeling forced to go through anything. Again, these are prompts. And again, we as coaches are observers. We must be aware even of the body language where people become uncomfortable and ask them about those things to make sure that we are being inclusive and understanding.
And I'd love to see a study on the impact with neurodivergent clients.
Yes.
That would be interesting. I bet you
There
it would
is
be
some
good for
out
some.
there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I've listed some in that resource list that I'm going to give to you. You'll get the video, of course, from the Americas Coaching Supervision Network, but that list, and I think I can, if you want to take a, let me see if I can find it, go back to the share. My last slide was here. There's my telephone number and my email, and I can email you that list. It actually looks kind of like this. But you can see I've divided it into illustration and images and metaphors, music and movement, some of the primary sources that I used for this. Also, other things like leadership in the future. So you have a lot to draw from in terms of what you'd like to do. Okay, it's just about 10 minutes left. Any more comments before we close out or questions?
So the comment, Sunny, that sometimes when we are being creative, and I can talk as a recipient or being on the other side, it may be anxious provoking, anxiety provoking, because you may ask, okay, do something that is different, and you wonder, can I do this? And particularly if you're in a group, am I going to look bad? So sometimes even normalizing that and putting in language and articulating that, because in my experiences, it was not so difficult at the end, but at the beginning, it sounded that it may be challenging.
Yes. Yeah. You don't have to be an expert with this, and you can start small. That's the other thing that I want to emphasize, that you don't have to be, marvelously creative. Maybe not as long as Paul and Lily have been working in this area, but you can start with little things like asking your client to draw something or to use stick figures or whatever they can do. Again, you're the one who is being curious and asking those questions and making sure that it's a space that the client can work in, even if it's brand new. There's been some research too, which I cited on that list about this discomfort and how that is a place where a lot of creativity actually occurs. It's been that way throughout history, even artists drawing on music and vice versa throughout history. It's amazing how much the two come together and how much we can be prompted and avail ourselves from art all around us, whether it's outside in nature or something right in our own environments, colors, all those kinds of things. What color would you call this interaction? Asking someone something that basic can really bring out and help you go beneath that surface of emotions.
Sunny, would you like to put your email information that you shared in the slide in the chat box for people who are
Sure.
not able to get that?
Absolutely.
And you mentioned Lily and Paul as being creative. Both of them bring to coaching and supervision and to the field something that you may or may not be aware, but Lily does a lot of work with the Magic Box. That is a box where you use miniatures to put that in the space and to represent what's going on. And she has also workshops on that. So if anybody is interested in that technique, Lily, that is workshop, and Paul in Lego, using Lego for work, for coaching and supervision. They both also offer this if anybody is interested in learning more about Magic Box or Lego.
And they are both on the list of resources that you can get. They're already there. And it's very much like what they call sandbox. The other thing I should probably tell you, and I can show you, is, Jean Olvier actually hosted the authors of this book. They're listed on the list also. It's called Art-Based Coaching, and it just came out last year. And I talked with the author of this book for this presentation, and it does give you case studies as well as examples and experiments also on the list that I can give you, as well as a couple of other books that have been written. It's not a lot, but there's something out there specifically focused on coaching and the arts.
And Michelle Lucas, she has a book on 100 ideas to apply creativity in coaching supervision. So people, that's another good resource. And for the bilingual people here, the people who speak Spanish, I know several people here speak Spanish. I was a co-editor of a book on coaching and creativity with 40 master coaches from Latin America and Spain. So that's another resource in Spanish about creativity with all like different techniques. That also can be a good resource. But Sunny, thank you very much. And thank you for sharing these resources. That would be great. And thank you for this creative session. And we need to wrap up. Lily, for the people who came a little bit late to the meeting, should we remind them about our conference coming up, our 9th conference in Victoria, Lily's city? We are going to be close to her and our Canadian friends.
We might have to have a party at my place again.
Okay.
Yes, so I put the information in the chat, and next session we're going to do fit for purpose. How do we keep sane in crazy, insane times? It's going to be an open conversation. So we'll see you soon at another session. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you, Sunny.
Thank you, Sunny.